Hi chess friends, today we are going to witness Praggnanandhaa's knight sacrifice. Praggnanandhaa plays with white, Ferenc Berkes is black. Praggnanandhaa starts with e4, black plays e6, d4, d5, e5, c5, c3. French defense, advanced variation. Knight c6 puts more pressure on the d4 pawn. Knight f3, adding extra defender to the d4 pawn. Queen b6, a3, preparing b4. Bishop d7 makes way for castle. b4, challenging the c5 pawn. c pawn takes d4 pawn. c pawn takes d4 pawn. Rook c8 controls the open c file. Bishop b2, knight g e7, knight c3. Both players develop their knights. Knight a5, taking the knight is not good. If a pawn takes knight, queen takes bishop, knight a2, queen takes a3 pawn, bishop d3, queen takes a5 pawn, check. Black wins 2 pawns and has an excellent position. Black is winning. Back to the position. So white played bishop d3, knight c4, nice square for the knight. Bishop c1, preventing bishop for knight exchange. If black wants to draw the game, it can be achieved by knight takes e5 pawn, knight takes knight, queen takes d4 pawn, knight takes f7 pawn, queen takes knight, bishop d2, queen takes bishop, knight d6 check, king d8, knight takes b7 pawn check. If king c7, bishop f4 check, and the queen will be lost. So king e8, knight d6 check. Game is drawn by threefold repetition. Back to the position. But black played a5, castle on the king side. A takes b4 pawn. Rook b1, pinning the b pawn to queen. Queen a7, unpins the b pawn. A pawn takes b4 pawn. b5, stops advance of b pawn. h4, queen b6, rook e1, preparing to move the rook to a file via e2 square. h6, rook e2, bishop c6, rook a2, bishop b7, rook a5, attacks the b5 pawn. If black takes the rook by knight, b pawn takes knight, queen takes a5 pawn, knight takes b5 pawn, knight c6, bishop f4. Even though black has rook for knight, engine says game is equal because the black's rook and bishop has not moved from the initial position. Back to the position. Black don't want to exchange strong knight for rook and played bishop c6, defends the b5 pawn. Queen e2, slightly better is rook b2 a1, g6, slightly better as knight f5, which will make way to develop the bishop on f8. Rook b a1, knight f5, rook a6, queen d8, g4, attacks the knight. Knight takes h4 pawn, knight takes knight, queen takes knight. Black wins a pawn, but engine shows 2 tempi advantage for white, as the black's bishop and rook are not developed. Bishop takes knight, b pawn takes bishop, exchanges good knight for bad bishop. Rook takes bishop, exchange sacrifice to infiltrate into enemy's camp. Rook takes rook. Rook a8 check. King d7. Queen f3, targeting the f7 pawn. f5 moves it to safety. b5 attacks the rook. Rook c8. Black wants to exchange the annoying rook on a8. Pause the video and find the brilliant move played by Praggnanandhaa. Compliments on finding the move. The move is knight takes d5 pawn. Knight sacrificed by Praggnanandhaa. This knight cannot be taken because there is checkmate in 6 moves. Let's see it now. If e pawn takes knight, queen takes e5 pawn check, bishop d6, queen takes bishop, king e8, rook takes rook check, king f7, queen d5 check, king g7, queen d7 check. Only option is to block the queen by queen. Then queen takes queen checkmate. Back to the position. So black didn't take the knight and played queen takes g4 pawn check. Offers exchange of queens. Queen takes queen. F pawn takes queen. Knight b6 check. King c7. Knight takes rook. Takes back the rook. King b7. Rook a6. King takes knight. Rook takes e6 pawn. This is move number 35. Black's bishop and rook are still sitting on the same place. King b7. Materially c1, but engine gives 3 tempi advantage to white. Because white has 3 passed pawn and the excellent position of the rook. Whereas black's c pawn is blocked by bishop and h pawn can be blocked by white's king. Rook takes g6 pawn. Inaccuracy by Praggnanandhaa. Best move is rook e8 followed by e6, e7, which will win the bishop, or bishop g7, rook e7 check wins the bishop. Back to the position. Rook takes g6 pawn. c3, rook c6. Rook moves behind the passed pawn. Bishop b4 protects the c pawn. Bishop takes h6 pawn. Rook d8 attacks the d pawn. Defending the backward pawn is important, so rook c4 and attacks the bishop. Bishop a5, e6. Black's king cannot go towards the e pawn as white's rook controls the c file. King b6, e7. Promotional threat and attacks the rook. Rook e8 counterattacks the e pawn. Bishop g5 defends it. King takes b5 pawn. Rook c5 check. King b6. Rook d5 preparing rook d8. Bishop b4. Rook d8. Rook cannot be taken as the pawn will promote to queen. So rook takes e7 pawn. Captures the dangerous passed pawn at the cost of the rook. Bishop takes rook. Bishop takes bishop. Rook c8. Needs to grab the passed pawn. g3. Rook takes the c3 pawn. On move 49, black resigned. Even if both the pawns are captured by pawn and bishop, king and rook will win against the lone king. So black resigned. If you like the video, share, subscribe and like. Thank you. Now it's puzzle time. Wait to play and win. Post your solutions in the comment section.